Everyone online says you need to scale with a course. And I say, sell the damn service. I'm Emily Williams, award-winning consultant and productized offer expert since 2014. And I'm here to help you work less, make more, and stop custom building your burnout. Each week, we talk strategy, structure, and the real stories behind sustainable service businesses. You know, from service providers who like doing service work, who want to stay in service work, but also just make more money. If you're ready for all that yapping, then let's dive in. I feel like I need to add an extra sound effect due to the fact that you are the first dude, the first boy, the first guy, manpreneur
Yes.
on this show. I've never said that
Yes.
word in my life and I hate it. So I want to take that back. But I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's truly an honor. And I think I messaged you yesterday. I was like, am I the first dude? 'Cause I've been following along. Like you
Okay.
popped up in my life at a time when I was just kind of starting in the service industry. And so you've been my guiding light, like truly, like no joke. And then I would keep listening to the podcasts. And I think you had, was it Heidi on?
Yes.
I just listened to the one with Heidi a couple weeks ago, and she said at one moment, she's like, "Oh, I don't even pay attention to what the men in the industry are doing." And then that made me think, I was like, hold on, like, first of all, love that. And then secondarily, I was like, hold on, like, has there been another male voice? And so I messaged you and you're like, you
Nope.
are in fact the first.
Yep.
And I am thrilled to be here. I hope I can do a good job representing the, what did you say? Male entrepreneurs?
Manpreneur.
Okay,
Boily
great.
pop.
Am I going to get like an invoice in the mail if I start using that in my branding?
Yes.
Okay, great.
It's poor man's copyright. I said it here first.
Fantastic. Well, hey, yeah, it's a real pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I'll do my best to represent the male voices in the industry.
It's so funny because so this is the third podcast I've had it over the course of my career, and the first one I co-hosted with my previous business partner at an agency marketing company that I ran for 8.5 years, and I think we had at the time that I left over 700 episodes, and
Wow.
I could probably count on one hand how many guys we had in even that time span, and it's just really interesting. You're the first person to be on the show, but also the first guy to reach out to even be on
Wow.
the show.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Fascinating. You know, it's interesting. And I was thinking about this before the show. Almost all of the clients exclusively all of the clients I've had in my young business have been women. Yeah. Yeah. And I also, just kind of going through my Instagram feed, kind of seeing like what's happening and what's churning in the general service industry. It just seems like it's female led. And that's fantastic for me. I think, I definitely tend to lean into some more feminine qualities just in general. And especially I think in how I approach my business. So I guess it's not really a surprise, but I mean, there must be other men out there doing stuff,
Yeah.
right?
What's funny is before we hit record, you mentioned some music background, which I definitely want to touch, get into. The only, and I'm like pausing to make sure that this is a truthful statement, but I want to say the only other guy in this space who I really connected with and I loved and I hired for years and years and years. I worked with in my previous company. He's an incredible bookkeeper. His name's Parker
Okay.
of Evolved Finance. Shout out to Parker. He was the second bookkeeper I ever hired, but incredible. And he came from a music background as well,
No
and
way.
started a small business with a buddy of his, kind of I don't want to say randomly, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but like a little like what you were alluding to, where it felt like a little out of left field from your background, but had so much of the skill set because of what you were doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's the music vibe that like brings I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I mean, I think when I say like I lead from an emotional place, or from a feminine place, like I tend to think about, I try to work backward from everything in my business has to feel good to me.
Yeah.
Because to
Yes.
me, in fact, like one of my most successful reels that I've posted, I say successful in like a limited sense because the account's pretty much brand new.
Yeah.
But one of the most
You're like
successful
300 people saw it, and that's yeah.
was, I think it was like a short clip of me talking about how we need to, in 2026, really make sure that we're kind of like the numbers, the data, the way that we're making these decisions, the business side of things, that's important. But for me, equally important is kind of how we are feeling while we're operating the business. Because in my experience, if you're not feeling great about what you're doing, that energy is going to kind of leach through everything you do, including client interactions, other connections that you make in business. And so when you're feeling great, when you're engaged, to me, the momentum just kind of carries on through the rest of what you're doing. So it could be that I try not to make emotional decisions necessarily, but I certainly want to consider how I feel about my business on a day-to-day basis. Because if I'm not feeling great and if my clients aren't feeling great, the net effect of that is just going to be felt kind of throughout the
Yeah.
whole business.
I think the commonality that I'm hearing here too is coming from an artist background. I talk about this a lot in my own journey. You may or may not know this about me, but I'm an art school kid,
Mm,
graduated from art school, emphasis in photography, but I
mhm,
also have a minor in psychology, multicultural studies,
mm,
and my first business ever was photography. I've
yes.
also had a cupcake business and like a bespoke cupcake business. I worked in a bakery for many years throughout college, have sold artwork. I had a handmade jewelry business for a long time. And whenever I'm burnt out or on the brink of that in my business side of using the logical data brain that I use here,
Mhm,
I have to make something with my hands. I was crocheting last night. I'm painting with my kid. I'm doing something. And it always comes back to if I can carve time out for art, I do
mm,
better here. And so
mhm.
I have always talked and bragged about like, I think artists bring a very unique skill set to the entrepreneurial space and the business space. And so I'm excited to see how you bring that into the work that you're doing with your clients.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can tell you a little bit about that. Like I kind of started out of high school. I was in bands. I was kind of like a band theater kid in high school, and I had like green hair and like I ended up just kind of touring through Canada mostly because I'm up in Vancouver Island through my like late teens and early 20s. And at some point, I got tired of sleeping on floors, and so I was like, I'm gonna like legitimize this a little more. I had a job the whole time, and I started releasing solo records. And from that point, I actually formed a trio, I think in 2010 or 2011. And that was kind of the most successful part of my musical season. The band was active till 2018, and we were able to tour internationally and make a living. And I mean, we weren't like, we certainly weren't famous or anything like that, but, we were able to draw an income from it, which
It's
is really
awesome.
special, and have a lot of fantastic experiences from it. When the band wound down in 2018, I was kind of left with this position where I had all these weird business skills. You probably remember back then. I'm probably older than you, but you still had to learn how to build a website. You had to learn how to navigate social media. YouTube was kind of just popping up, and so playing the shows and like writing the songs was like 10% of the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
90% was like sending emails, booking travel, making sure accommodations were like sorted out. You had
Yep.
freightage done properly, that sort of
The
thing.
operations of it all.
100%. Yeah. So
Yep.
I kind of finished and I was like, man, I have all these weird skills. And I was able to use that to kind of leverage those skills into a brand management position with a mountain biking company here on Vancouver Island, because mountain biking became a new passion of mine. So I did that for 4 years, and it wasn't a fit. It was a great job, but after 4 years, it was like time to go. And I took a few months off and just thought, it's going to be no problem to just jump into a new industry. And so that was last January. That was
Okay.
last year. And I don't mind telling you, I had a very humbling 9 months.
Uh-huh.
I had a certain amount of income that I was comfortable with, that I had a very strong skill set. I'd been kind of managing a team of people for most of my, been a leader kind of through most of my life. And
Yeah.
I applied to probably like, this is going to sound like I'm exaggerating, but I probably applied to like 80 to 100 jobs.
Yep. No,
And
I believe it.
I got one interview.
Well, I'm surprised you got that.
And it was brief. It was it was like the first step of like the 5
Mhm.
step, like whatever interview. And, I just was like, Man, I don't know what I'm gonna do here." And throughout this time, what ended up happening was enough people that I knew were like, "Oh, hey, can you just, like, help me out with this, like, Instagram thing for a second?" Or like, "Hey, can you, like, do this, like, website for me?" And, like, that's when someone asked me, like, "Oh, my wife is actually a psychologist, and
Ah,
I did her website." So someone saw
yes.
her website, "Oh, who did your website?" Okay, so
This is how it starts.
yeah,
I
this is how
love
it starts.
it. Yes.
Yeah, and so in and amidst that, I come across your podcast. And then I hear about the service provider industry. I was like,
Wait.
wait, wait a minute. I have and like, honestly, you were a big part of it. Like, it's something just like clicked in my brain that I was like, being a generalist isn't bad. This is, if like, I actually have all of the skills to market myself
Yes.
like really well and like
Yes.
really easily. And honestly, something clicked, and it was probably like late August, and it's been like the most wild 4 months of my life. Like, I'm just so pumped every day doing what I'm doing, and I've been really scared. Like, I've actually taken some big swings.
Hey, that doesn't go away.
Totally, right? And so yeah, it's just been such a wonderful experience to feel. I think for me, the thing that feels the best is representing myself. For a long time, I was representing another brand, I was
Yeah.
representing the band, all good things that were aligned with me somewhat. But I just show up how I want. I can swear if I want, I can wear what I want. My vibe is the company, and it's always no, I'm kind of I'm a friendly guy. I love connecting with people. So those skills are just transferring really, really well, and it just feels so, aligned.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I'm really just at a stage though, honestly, where I'm building the business. 2026 for me is gonna be a time where I can actually start to shape some offers, because if you look at my website now, like, it looks okay. I threw it up there because I was like, "We need to get
Y
something
yeah.
online." And, I don't it's very, very vague though, right? Like, the offers are just like,
Mhm.
"Let's get a call going, like, what can I help
Mhm.
you with?"
Yep.
And I'm just taking some time to do a bunch of different types of work. What did you say the other day? You said, getting reps in?
Yes.
Okay, so 2026 is gonna be
Yes.
all about me getting in some reps,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I'm really gonna enjoy some of the reps,
Yep.
and I think I'm
And
probably
you're
gonna
gonna hate some of
hate
them.
some of them.
Yep.
Yeah, you said, like, charge too much, charge too little.
You're gonna
Those
do it
are all
all.
things I'm gonna try. Yeah, and
Yep.
I really wanna learn. I think it's important I say this to my clients all the time, but I think it's really important if we can learn the intersection between what we are exceptional at, what fills us up, and it intersects with, like, what provides the most value for our clients, like, whatever that thing is, like, I'm
Yep.
sure you have a term for it. That's the thing I want to find, and I'm trying to build enough kinda steady revenue in the business this year that I can kinda continue whatever my personal exploration is gonna be in the business, 'cause I don't know if it's gonna be this all the time, and
It won't
that's
be.
okay. Yeah.
It won't be. The language I use to describe that, I call it your authority anchor.
Okay.
And so it's the thing that you wanna be known for because it lights you up, it feels alignment, it feels good. It also provides a result that people are actually asking for.
Mhm.
And so it's that alignment of, like, market demand with the client you wanna work with,
Yeah.
and you get excitement about doing it and setting up the systems that help you deliver it and showing up to the call and providing the service and doing whatever is required for that thing. And it
Mhm.
is truly that intersection where you kind of hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
And that can change. Your authority anchor you're in your first 6 months doesn't really exist. I'm You might have heard me say this too, where I like to call it throwing intentional spaghetti at the wall.
Yes, 100%, yeah.
And not yet being a yes person for every single thing, but because you obviously don't want to like lie about skill sets, right? There's definitely people in this industry who do that. New people who might not know better, but you kind of pick a little bit of a lane. But being a generalist is that intentional spaghetti because you are learning so much and taking in so much information and data, both qualitative and quantitative, about what's landing, what price point feels good, who are the type of clients I like working with, how long does it take me to deliver a project, what are the communications, channels and mechanisms and expectations that I want to have. Therefore, what systems do I need to have in place? And like I could just go on and on and on about everything that you're taking in this first chunk of business. And the important part is for you to listen to the cues of that felt easy to sell, that felt easy to deliver. This I want to dive in and learn or get certified in this system or whatever it might be
Yeah.
for you to kind of like go all in. And I find because you have experience, you're shifting industries for sure, but you have experience. People who come to the table with experience and the wherewithal to kind of draw those connections can see that foundation being built faster,
Yep.
and it's a little bit more solid, which I'm sure you're experiencing going into 2026.
Yeah, definitely. I think the real challenge I'm having now, which is a challenge in any business, is you have to do that delicate balance now between building my business and also continuing to do
Wild.
the work,
Perfect.
right?
Yep.
And so I think I mentioned to you previously too, like if you look at my website now, I already am like, man, I got to redo so much of this.
Yes.
And at the same time, I really enjoyed something you said on the podcast the other day about like, what was it, no new assets or something. Like, I want to get to that point where I have I know there's like a mechanism and a delivery thing that I can do that's just going to be exceptional every time. I also know the part of me that's kind of been around the block and been alive for 42 years knows that does not happen overnight.
100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
you gotta take your time, and you
Yep.
gotta be uncomfortable, and you gotta make some mistakes, and I'm working on in my life personally and just even with the business, just to, like, give myself permission to, like, "Man, you're in it now." Like, I'm really trying to enjoy
Yes.
this roller coaster ride because look, it's going great now. There's going to be times when it's not going great.
Mhm.
And no matter what happens, there's just like a richness to this type of life where you're so heavily invested in what you're doing for work. And I'm really just trying to like soak that all in, you know, and just
Yeah.
not really miss a moment of it because yeah, it's fleeting, right? You never know when things are going to change. So I just want to be here for it and let it unfold. And you always want to I certainly want to, you know, help, you know, build it and construct it and like, you know, push it in the direction that feels natural. But I think there's also an element where it's kind of got to come to you a little bit too.
Absolutely. That
Yeah.
and that truly this I'm celebrating going into my 15th year of doing this, which
Wow.
is bananas.
Yeah.
The same industry, very similar mechanisms. Like I've had my Instagram account since Instagram was invented,
Wow. Yeah.
and I've had people who have followed me from that day to still now and still interacting with things. And that's I was
Hmm.
talking with someone yesterday about like, oh my gosh, like if you pause and think about that for a second, what an incredible honor to get to be a part of someone's life and business and journey for that long, for over a decade. That
Yeah.
is
Wow.
baffling to
Yeah.
me. And still getting to do this. And it's really interesting hearing how you're feeling about work right now because you know, I left my previous company in 2023 where I had a co-founder, I had a team, I had employees and contractors and a large audience and clientele and students and all of the things. And I went back out on my own. And it was very scary. And kind of did the same like a very similar vibe of what you're doing where I threw intentional spaghetti at the wall and reached out to the people who were closest to me to see if I could get work and was a generalist
Hmm.
in my way that I can show up as a generalist for
Hmm.
about 6 months and then pivoted pretty quickly and then pivoted again and pivoted again. But it's been all of 2025. I mean, 2026 is just fresh still. We're 2
Hmm.
weeks in.
Yeah.
But I remember I felt like every other week, every time I was turning around and talking about my business or talking to my husband or my friends or whatever about business and just being like, it just feels it's so good and I love my job and I love what I get to do.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is I am just representing myself now. I think in a very similar context of I was representing the brand of my previous company. It wasn't just me. It was the brand and what were, you know, our values and the brand's mission statement and what did we need to be saying and not saying in order to be where we needed to be in the market in the space. And getting to kind of own all that now is very exciting. So it's scary sometimes because I think like sometimes it's like, is one little thing gonna fuck it all up?
Yeah.
But, you know, but, like, you just keep doing it,
Yeah.
and it feels good.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said too about, you know, I think you can build really powerful things with strong teams and groups of people.
100%.
But you know, I've learned time and time again that the less people involved,
Uh,
there's a tremendous amount of energy saved. There's a
yes.
tremendous amount. I mean, we've all been in those conversations where, like, I co-own a mental health clinic with my wife. She's a psychologist, as I said. She built her own practice for, you know, for years and years. And recently, we just found two partners to start a group practice. And the goal with this is to start, you know, doing retreats. She does a lot of psychedelic therapy work. She's just starting to
Cool.
delve into that. with MDMA, ketamine, psilocybin. So the clinic is not there yet. But my point is, even between the four of us, we've just had to kind of like remodel our partnership agreement because we just realized
Ye-
like we don't need four people making these decisions. Like we're all extremely, well prepared and have great mindsets to do these things. But really, there's like this decision fatigue that starts to happen if you're meeting all the time. We've all been in those meetings that are going on for hours and you're trying to like, you're talking about a mission statement and you're
Yep.
like, how many times can we fucking rewrite
Yep.
this mission statement? Like, oh my, so when you remove all that clutter, I just feel like there's this momentum that you can build on your own, that you can just kind of get the ball going on your own and you're responsible for it. And that can feel scary to your point, but it also feels tremendously empowering. I like to think of it as a, almost like an energetic circular breathing where
Mm.
I don't know. And this probably isn't sustainable, but like for the last 4 months, like I just feel like I can work forever. Because I'm outputting energy, but the momentum that's happening is kind of circular. It's coming back to me and kind of giving me energy
Yes.
again. I
Yes.
never felt that way. I finally have understood how you see these like super successful entrepreneurs, like, billionaires or whatever.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm like, I kind of understand. I don't agree with, just
Right.
gonna put that. I
Don't
don't
support
agree with
that.
like,
Yeah.
whatever Jeff Bezos, like, I don't, I'm not that guy, but I kind of understand how like you can get to that level of obsession and just like, it becomes,
Uh,
yeah, it becomes
Yeah.
a thing, right?
If you haven't read the book, Never Not Working by
Mm,
Melissa Clark, I've talked about it on the show before. I read the book maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I read it absolutely thinking other people, like, I'm reading this to learn how other people behave in work. It's not about me. I'm reading this to see how I can better communicate with this person who has these shitty behaviors and relationships with work and concepts of their worth and all the things. And I'm flipping through pages like, "Oh, she's talking about me. Oh, she's talking about me. Oh, that's me. Oh, shoot." And
yeah, yeah.
so it was a way that workaholism has been presented, which first of all, Melissa Clark is she's a PhD, and it's very research back, and it's Harvard Business Review back. Like there's so many studies cited in the book, which I love a study. And
Hmm.
so it isn't just opinion. It is like the science shows the
Hmm.
definition of this is actually,
Hmm.
and it was this weird eye-opening way of like it's almost like that oh, what is it called when we all collectively believe something to be true that isn't true? Like the Bernstein Bears, it wasn't
Yeah,
spelled with
yeah,
an E
yeah,
or
yeah.
not, like whatever that
Yeah, yeah.
thing is
I know what you're
called.
talking about.
I think that we have that about the term workaholic and being addicted to work and whatever. But the way that she spells it out, where she's like, actually, this is what it means, you're like,
Mhm.
oh, shoot.
Yeah,
Like that. Okay. Yes.
yeah.
And so what's been really interesting is that now that I'm back on my own, I've had the exact same feelings of like, I could my basement or my office is in the basement, it's downstairs. I
Mhm.
could live down here forever.
Yeah.
And I told you before we hit record that I got the super flu over the holiday break and it was horrible. I got sick and then I was fine and then I got sick and then I was fine and then I got the flu. And so I felt like I was sick for 2 months straight and it was miserable. And so starting into January I was like kind of feeling better, but my brain still wasn't there. But I knew that if I the longer I was away from work, the longer I was gonna take to feel better. And whether that's healthy or not, I don't know yet, but I know that when I'm kind of made myself get out of bed and get dressed and get in the shower. And even though I'm coughing, what work can I do, even if it's for an hour? And there were definitely days where it was like, okay, I have one meeting, and that was all the energy I had. And so I went and laid back down. But I know that prioritizing work in the ways that light me up helped me get better faster. And it's that energy I think that you're talking about where we talk about like introversion and extroversion all the time of like, does being around people charge you up or does being alone charge you up? This is what charges me up.
Yeah,
Like work. This work
totally.
charges me up.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think the real trick that we have to think about is I I talk about building rest into my business all the time. So it almost sounds as though I'm contradicting myself. In fact, I just did this series on Instagram where I was like, over the holidays, I just had this huge project from November to the middle of December. And I was like, you know what? It was like intense, all hands on deck. It
Mm,
was a huge, huge event, a store opening here, yeah, up in Canada.
mm.
And I told myself, once that's done, I'm going to take 2 weeks off, and I really am going to take 2 weeks. I'm going to like send some emails, but I think we have to figure out like where is that. What are we talking about when we're talking about rest, and like how do we marry those two things? Because from a masculine point of view, I see all like a lot of my friends are like David Goggins or whatever, Walter Goggins, are like, just
Yeah.
push through, like you have to, and I saw this thing the other day I was going to comment on Instagram, like the concept of balance is bullshit, and there's a different way of doing this, because what you're saying and what I'm saying, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about pushing through the point where we're uncomfortable. Our body is saying no. Our mind is saying no. We're doing shit work because
Yep.
we're exhausted.
Yep.
That's not the thing we're talking about. What we're
Mm-mm.
talking about is being so fully engaged and aligned in what you do on a daily basis that the things that might not come as naturally, that take a little more of your energy, are almost like there's like they're almost circumvented by the fact that you're doing this other layer on top of it
Yes.
that just feels better. So I don't know what that is, because I think rest is super critical. It's just that you also like to be switched on at all times, right? So I think there's a balance there. I really, really strongly feel like that balance is important to everyone
Yeah.
when they run their business, and
Yeah.
it's up to everybody to figure out kind of where that balance lies for them.
Well, and I think what's interesting too is thinking about the balance, and I do a lot of compare and contrasting between my what feels like my career now, I feel like is like my 3.0 career,
Mm.
and then my 2.0 was the brand that I built for so long, and it was super successful, and I loved being in it when I was in it, and then when it was time for me to leave, it was definitely time for me to leave. There were times, and I've shared this before, but like by the point that I had left, I probably should have left like a year and a half before. It
I feel
was one
that.
of those one
I
of those
feel
kind of
that.
things.
That was my
Yeah.
situation too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would be in it and I'm working, or we're in the middle of a launch, or things are hard, or we're figuring out revenue, like something is going on, right, in the business. And I remember a client breaking a boundary would happen all the time, right? And I remember talking to my husband often about like, it's 5 o'clock and they emailed. I am not emailing them. Like that is a boundary. I'm not doing it. It's after hours. And, my business partner wants to have like a strategy session because we need to really brainstorm revenue. I'm not doing it. It's after hours. I said I don't work after hours. It's the weekend. I'm not doing it. And it was all of these like really hard and fast, like boundaries of like, this is the line I have to draw and I'm not crossing it. Our hours are 9 to 4. That's when you get me. And I'm off on Fridays and I had no wiggle room in that.
Yeah.
And I could not stop thinking about work. Even though I was setting that really hard firm boundary, I had chronic insomnia. I wasn't super healthy. I was thinking about it, stressing about it, overthinking, like it would not shut off. And it was the very stereotypical of like when you're an entrepreneur, your brain's like always going, you're always thinking about your business. So I thought that was normal and fine and acceptable. And so, I left, yada yada. I now have this thing. And it like kind of hit me when I was doing my 2025, how did the year go? Like what worked, what didn't, what am I going to do again? Yada, yada. I'm planning 2026. And I'm like kind of reflecting back on the year and saying, I never once felt like I had to draw this hard line in the sand of, oop, it's after 5. I'm not doing it. Ooh, it's the weekend. I'm not doing it. One, because I didn't have to. The situations never came up.
Hmm.
But it was also a thing where when it was after work, after hours, I wasn't thinking about work. I didn't feel bad for not thinking about it. When I'm clocked in, I'm clocked in. When I'm out, I'm out. And I never thought I would feel that being an entrepreneur, being my own business owner, whatever you want to call it, because it is your responsibility, it is your thing, it's always living in your brain. And that chatter isn't there anymore. And I've been more successful than I've ever been in my career. And so
There you go.
I don't
Yeah. I mean, I think it's because it's your life, right?
understand.
It's your life. And, can we get a little psychoanalytical here?
100%.
Okay, great. I've done a lot of, I've just done a lot of self-work myself.
Yep.
And, I always, I really don't want to call myself a coach with my clients.
Right.
Um,
Same.
and I keep being pulled.
Mhm.
Okay, can I tell you my biggest fear?
Tell me.
My biggest fear is that like my calling like might be to be a motivational speaker.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When I hear the term motivational speaker, I think of like, stick with me, kids. We're going to go to the top, or like, some shill like selling a, I
I'm
think of the
picture
people.
cult leaders. Yeah.
Yes, I think of the
Yeah.
people on Instagram that are like, "Oh, you could scale," and just what that's what I think of, and so I need to maybe that's the cultural thing we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my biggest fear, but I think I wanted to talk about I wanted to originally talk about getting a little analytical about it because when I hear what you were saying about your previous career, that hits for me. It really resonates, and I can tell you just from talking to people, and I'm sure you have this experience too, that's gonna hit for a lot of people. And what I've learned, and this is just for myself, what I was doing when I was feeling that way truly is avoiding. That
Yeah,
it's
100%.
when you're doing that thing where you're like everything you just said you did, I did. And my wife and I, like, it was causing problems and like
Yeah.
and the worst thing that you like, I want to hit on again, because it's super critical. If people aren't sure if they're feeling this way, this is the number one symptom. You say you are setting boundaries, but you are literally thinking about it all the time, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, so guys, like here's the learning. If you are setting boundaries, but you are always thinking about it, something's disconnected. And what we avoid, as you know, like if you're avoiding something, it is not going to avoiding it is not a way to it won't go away. It's going to continue to spiral and go, right? So I think when, at least for me, and it sounds like the same for you, in my life now, I don't avoid these things. Man, the phone rings. I'm not like, oh, what is this? I'm like sick. Can't wait
Yep.
to take this phone call.
Amazing. Yep.
Oh, it's a problem. Great. Like,
Yes.
let's
Yes.
talk about it.
Yes.
What other opportunity is this going to open up? And when you approach, I don't want to get too like metaphysical here, but like, when you
No, let's do it.
that when you approach these things with that type of energy, I mean, I don't even think it is metaphysical. It's like you're bringing great energy to the
Yes.
situation, and so things can't help but
Yes.
continue to kind of roll in that way, right?
And I find that the more I do this in my personal life, and vice versa, like the more I do it in business, the more it helps me in my personal life. The more I do it in personal life, the more it helps me in business. When I left my previous job, one of the things that I felt was missing was I wasn't having fun in business anymore.
Mm.
It felt like a job. It felt like a really annoying corporate job where you're underpaid for all the work that you're doing and everything you're managing, and you're underappreciated, and you're having to do all these just checkpoints for the sake of doing a checkpoint. And I fucking hated it. And so I made sure that that wasn't the environment that I was creating for myself again. So I wanted to create fun. Well, having fun, as maybe not for everyone, but at least for me and the type of brain that I have and the way that I look at things, I have to be very intentional about having fun and creating space for fun and creating the energy for fun to be able to happen. By nature, I am a complainer. I am a like, let's bitch about something, right? And like that's how I connect with someone, right? Whether it be my partner at the end of the day or my mom or whatever it is, right? Just like, oh, this client did this or this call, or can you believe this person in traffic, or whatever it is, right? And so last year I was like, all right, I need to kind of be like in charge of the fun, and I have to manage the fun a little bit more. And maybe one day it'll come a lot more naturally, but right now I need to be really intentional about it. And so my game plan was try to eliminate as much complaining as possible. And it's not to say that you can't have a bad day and that you can't talk about your bad day at all. But like the things that don't actually help improve the situation need to be eliminated.
Mhm.
And we need to flip the script. So it took it like super very simple. Whenever my husband are in the car, especially with our child, both of us, I hardly ever drive. I hate driving. He drives everywhere and it's my favorite. Both of us though are very prone to like commenting on other drivers and like, you're being dumb or you're slow or like just whatever it is, right? Come on, buddy, like you use a turn signal. Like it's very small, but like complaining things, right? And so I said, come hell or high water, this year and going into next year, meaning 2026, we're going to have fun, like period, point blank. And so it has to start here. So I flip the script of when we're in the car and one of us has that inclination to say that. I pause and I say, okay, maybe like this just happened the other day. He just kept hitting every single red light. Like sometimes that happens, right? And the first one, you're like, oh, God damn it, like another red light. And then another one and another one. And so I like pause and like put my hand on his hand and I said, the more red lights we have, like the longer that we get to sit in this car and like chat about our day and hang out together.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
And so it's a subtle, like, you can't change the red lights. You can't change that it might make you 5 minutes slower to the thing that you want to get to, but you can be very intentional about finding where is the benefit still.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people look at that as like, it's called like, it may be the red light theory, where it's like, all the red lights are preventing you from getting into an accident that might be happening further down the road or whatever.
Sure.
Like there's that version of looking at it. But
Yeah.
for me, it's like, now we get more time together. And that's such a great thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's not as though God is preventing, intentionally, right?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely makes sense for me. I think that yeah, again, with the red lights, I almost look at that as a situation where it is what it is. It is
It is what it
happening.
is.
And we can either resist what's happening or we can just go, well, this is the only person that's getting upset in that situation is you and your
Is
partner.
me. Yep.
No, like the red light's not like, yeah, I'm mad too.
Right.
Like the red
Yeah.
light is like,
Yeah.
dude,
Fuck
this is
you,
what's
buddy.
up.
Here's a red light.
Yeah, this is what's up right now. And so
Yep.
gotta wait for a sec.
Yep.
I wanted to talk about your complaining too, because I come from a long, well, I hope my parents don't listen to this, but
We can whisper.
I just, yeah, cut this part out real quick. But I definitely have been a person in the past that has complained a lot. And I read this fantastic book. Now, this is not a business book, but I'd like to share it with you. It's by Bruce Tift, and it's called Already Free. And this guy is he's in Boulder, Colorado. He's a psychotherapist, but his therapy basically speaks to people from both like the fruitional and the development point of view. So basically the Buddhist point of view or like the Eastern philosophies point of view that I don't want to get too far into it, but and also like the Western conventional psychological profile of how people work. And so in that, one of my favorite, it's a great book. Probably not to start with, but if you've done some self-work, I just found it so, so powerful. One of my favorite quotes is, if you feel yourself having the need to complain, ask what you're avoiding. And that was one of those, when you're reading a book and that happens and you're just like, oh,
Always go, son of a bitch.
yeah, I just like, man, I actually listen to Oprah's podcast all the time.
Yes.
Love Oprah. Yeah, like she, I can't remember what she says when she calls them a moment, an aha moment or something, but I just had one of those, and it's it's a small enough little snippet of fact that or an idea that you can just recall it as you go through your day. And so I think you were doing that, inherently, like your brain had gotten to the point where you recognized that was going to be a great strategy for you. So I don't know, it really changed it, kind of flipped things for me. We're kind of talking about changing our perspectives, right,
Yeah.
on these things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. And to me, it's this, I mean, I think that the reason why I feel so aligned with work and the intentionality behind noticing these things that I feel like are going to be a strategic benefit to me to spend my time there.
Mhm.
100%. Like when I left my previous company, I took like 3 months off to just be really sad and mad and frustrated and angry at everything I felt like I had lost, how it went down. Like it felt like a really messy divorce. Like it was very, ugh.
Right.
Also don't recommend that. And then I got my butt in therapy. And I got this incredible referral. I've talked about my therapist many times on the show. She's in Kansas City. She's incredible if you want a recommendation. I've been in and out of therapy my entire life, like children of divorce. Like it's just like your therapist is your third home. Been in and out for a long time. And had not been in therapy for a long time because what I was used to was really traditional talk therapy. And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to just sit in the weight of this. I want someone to help me guide me through this.
Mm.
And so I was talking to a couple of friends that I trusted who were like definitely more in the spiritual woo side of, my circle and in Kansas City. And so they recommended this therapist, and she's incredible, where one of her favorite things that I remember her saying is something where she's like, "I always love to bring in the woo and then show you how the science proves it, or how the science, like how the woo can prove science and science can prove the woo." It's just like alternates back and forth. She's like,
Hmm.
"And whatever you're needing to hear right now is what we're going to kind of serve up." But it was truly the work with her of understanding, loving, and having patience for the parts of myself that I did not like was the critical piece in me feeling aligned in anything that I was gonna do moving forward.
Hmm.
And that work is fucking hard and very
Man,
emotional,
God, it's
but worth
so
it.
tough to do, and yeah, oftentimes when I have friends that start therapy, you start and you think things are gonna get this is to improve things.
Well, it's gonna just get better
Man, when you first start, especially if you're really doing it, I
if
actually
you're really doing it.
yeah, I had a conversation with my buddy the other day. He's having a tough time, and he just started, and he had 2 sessions like within a week because he's like in a bit of a trouble spot right now, and he's like, I just feel awful, and it just goes to
Sorry,
show.
buddy.
Yeah, like, but it goes to show, and you're a perfect example. You have to go there, and it does get better. But the therapy isn't like, oh, great, went to therapy, doo, 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 gonna like go home and have a great life now. Like it doesn't go away. You just learn, and I don't know what it is about whatever I can't remember how you worded that there, but I don't know what it is about sitting with our own pieces or parts or like whatever you want to call them that don't that that you hate or that you just
Mhm.
cannot get along with or you don't understand. There's something about that. It's so close to you, right? It's really, really hard to do. So good for you. I mean, honestly, it's yeah, it's always been a work in progress for me, but it sounds like it's been transformative.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely 100% changed my life and changed my business and changed my marriage and changed how I show up as a parent and all of the things. And
Yeah.
I feel like I've always wanted that success story from therapy, and I've just never had it.
Mm,
And to finally get to be kind of on the definitely not on the other side of therapy, but on the other side of that revelation specifically, is really, really powerful. And I think that to kind of tie this back into what we were talking about at the beginning of getting in your reps,
yeah.
that's also part of it, of the business side of proving to yourself what you can do, what you're capable of, that you can be okay even after you fuck up with a client and forget to bill or overcharge or undercharge or overdeliver or miscommunicate or miss a meeting. Like, we all have those things that happen, and to see the evidence and the proof that not only are you okay after, but that your business still exists, and probably even that relationship could still exist. Like, if we properly communicate. But there have been so many things that I thought I definitely would not have messed up. I knew way better. I knew the things. I had the experience. I had the connections, and there were balls that I've dropped over the past 3 years of being
Definitely.
out on my own.
Hmm.
And I'm still here, still
Yeah.
doing it,
Yeah.
still growing.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, everyone's journey no matter what.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question. When that happens, I don't want to lead the witness here, but I know how
Sure.
I have changed in terms of like how the ball is dropped. Okay. What do you do? Tell me how you communicate about that now. What's your move? Say it's a big fuck up. Cause like I've
Yeah.
made, hey
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
I've fucked around and found out a few times in my
Yep.
day.
Yep. Yep. Well, and what's so funny is the one that's coming to me right now is I did what I would consider a major fuck up. I sent an email to 1,600 people that should have gone to 20 people. And it was definitely worded in a way that was for this 20 people only.
Yeah.
And it was not my audience. It was my client's audience that I did it.
Yeah.
And it was an intentional campaign to get these people to unsubscribe because we were adding them to the list. They were current clients, and we're like, hey, we wanted to add you to this list. If you want to be removed, you just need to click here. So instead of sending to 20 people, hey, click here to get off our list, I sent it to everyone on the
How many
list.
did you lose?
Oh, three.
Hey, wow. Okay.
Three.
Okay. Were you writing the
So
newsletters as well?
what?
Were you writing the newsletters too?
Yeah.
Well, you were doing a good job then. Obviously, they wanted to stay.
Obviously, they want to say, yeah. And I mean, his list is phenomenal and so engaged and so amazing. I made the mistake, and I now know I was sick. This literally just happened in December, like 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
I
Okay.
was sick.
Yeah.
I'm on Theraflu,
Yeah.
actively fevering,
Yeah.
and I had scheduled this email when I was sick, like the week prior, and I was on cold medicine. I had scheduled it and obviously forgotten about it, but it was scheduled to send and it sent. And I didn't refine the audience a
Yeah.
week ago when I had scheduled it.
Yeah.
So I get a text from my client and he's like, "Hey, I just got this email. I think that means everyone got it. Can you double check?" And I'm like, shit. Immediately when he's texting me, I know exactly what I had done wrong. I know that it in fact went out to everyone. And so instead of beating myself up about it and like spiraling, because this person is also hadn't yet signed their 2026 contract. They were wanting to renew for a monthly like retainer going into 2026, and none of that had happened yet. So my previous brain would have been absolutely spiraling. I just lost this client. They're not going to renew. They're going to completely change scope. Like all of these things are going to happen. And I texted back and I was like, I don't even need to pull up the account. I know exactly that that's what I did. And I'm so sorry. I'm currently fevering. And so I have to pass this on to my operations assistant because I cannot like even look at this right now. Of course, he's such an incredible client. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like we will figure it out, whatever. So I brainstormed with my ops person and I said, we have to write a redaction email right now because you can't pause it. You can't stop it from sending. It's already going out. So she worked with me to fire up a very quick, like, so sorry, ignore that email, yada,
Yep.
yada.
Sure.
So we sent that, blah, blah, blah. I made kind of a second mistake and I meant to exclude the current clients from that apology email so that they would get the original email and they would never know the wiser. But I again sent it to everyone because I have Theraflu brain and I'm fevering and all of the things. So anyways, we correct the mistake. We only lose 3 people. Everything's great. 3 weeks later, meaning this week, we have a meeting about it. Not about it, but like our first kickoff of 2026. And we're talking about the year and yada, yada. Obviously, that comes up. I'm apologetic. Here's what happened, whatever. I state the boundary and I said, I now know, and I'm sorry for not seeing this. I need to rely on the support that I have in my team I shouldn't have scheduled that email in the first place because I was on cold medicine.
Yeah.
And I know my brain wasn't working. And that's when errors like this happen. And no problem, whatever. We have a meeting 2 days later, 3 days later to check in on something else. And so I'm like kind of co-working. I'm sharing my screen. I'm doing some stuff. And he goes, "Hey, you know what? You are taking on way more on this project than I thought you were. I actually want you to send me an additional invoice this month and then raise my retainer rate for next month moving forward."
Great. Great. That's what's up. That's what's
Sure.
up. That's what's up. Yeah. So I want to highlight a couple things there. So the first thing I want to highlight is you're a seasoned industry vet. You've been doing this for years. And the first example I want to take out of that situation is that this is a perfect way to paint the picture that when you make those mistakes can compound.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're a pro.
I did 2 mistakes in a row.
Yeah, but you didn't do 5. Like
right.
you didn't do 5, and you probably thought carefully enough about the first one to not do 5. How many times when you 10 years ago?
Right.
How many times did one turn into 5? And you're just like, I'm gonna
Burn it
walk
down.
out
I'm
of this
out.
office right now.
Yeah.
You want to pay me? You will never. It reminds me of the time I used to serve fine dining when I was in the band. And one time I was serving like this lady's retirement party and I walked out with a tray of champagne flutes. Like I'm talking about 15 champagne flutes. And the chairs were really deep at this restaurant. I dumped 15 champagne flutes down this like 65-year-old woman's back. And you know what I
could
did?
feel the cold.
It was shattered, just glass inside her dress. Like it was, okay. I walked into the kitchen and the chef was like, yeah, the chef, no, it wasn't even me. He was like, look, just take off your apron. You can go home. We'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, so anyway, just felt the need to share that. But my point is, how many times have you made one mistake and it just compounds and suddenly you're just like, I got to just kind of get out of here.
Yep.
And secondarily, the other thing I want to mention about that, which I absolutely love, which I think takes people a long time and maturity to grow this skill. The first thing you did was you said, yep, I fucked
that
up.
Happened. Yep.
I'm really, really sorry. I'm going to fix this. And then you just did what you had to do to fix it. I think we all, and this actually just isn't specific to the service industry. We all get in so much trouble in our personal lives, business lives. just for some reason, there's still this sense, especially among men. I will say this is something
Mm,
I found, especially among my male friends. There's still the sense of like when you're admitting defeat, or like you're
mm,
admitting that you're weak, or like, it's like that's the exact opposite. To me, someone saying, "Hey, I made a mistake," to me, that's a tremendous show of strength, maturity. And when you take ownership, it's so much easier to flip it and
yep.
then make the fix,
Yep.
right? As opposed to denying it or trying to hide it, or like, then you can't fix it, right?
Well, and you know what I could have done? And because I think for my lizard brain was like, you could take this route. I could have lied about how that mistake happened because this person isn't that familiar with technology like I am. And I absolutely could have been like, oh, this trigger or attack. Like I could have spun something. And my lizard brain was like, lie. And I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
And I feel obviously much better about the fact that
Yeah,
I was
well,
honest.
you know why you didn't lie? It's because you're in your new season. This is
Yeah.
you. You're representing
Yeah.
yourself, and you're behaving like yourself in this business, and that's why everything's kind of feeling so good, and that's why this client re-upped, retainers improved. Man, what a success story!
Like within 2 weeks of the
Yeah,
mistake, 2 to 3 weeks of the
yeah,
mistake. That's insane to me.
yeah.
And yeah, I just sat there in the meeting the other day and I think the meeting was actually yesterday. And I like foxed my ops person and I was like, girl, listen, like that mistake that happened has now turned
Yeah,
into this. And
yeah.
I also feel like, at my previous company, we had, at one point we were managing like 27 contractors, 9 full-time employees, a really big team, for that kind of business.
Mhm,
And right now I have like a part-time operations assistant.
mhm,
And I actually just brought on another team member today for, again, very, very part-time for a very specific thing. But um, I went through this year-long leadership training when I was at my previous company when we were transitioning from contractors to employees, because
mm,
there's so much conjecture in this space of, are you treating your contractors like contractors, or are you treating them like employees? And are you treating your employees like contractors or employees? And here's the difference, right? So I
mhm.
wanted to make sure that I was understanding the difference, but I
Yeah,
really, really, really care about being a good leader and a good manager and a good boss and a good communicator and whatever. So I went through this incredible year-long training from this woman named Makita Andrews. She's still in the industry. She's phenomenal. If you guys need leadership training, go check out Makita. It's Makeda Andrews. Her info will be in the show notes. She's incredible. I learned so much from her about not just taking ownership and responsibility or whatever, but communicating, but also like, what does it truly mean to be a good leader? And for me to bring in my ops person in that mistake that I made, like she did not make the mistake. I made the mistake. I needed her help in correcting the mistake, but then also looping back into the result of the mistake and owning it and apologizing. And now there's more money coming into the business. To me, that's good leader. And that's transparency, and that's super, super important to me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you're modeling the way that you want business to be done in your organization, and I don't think that there's enough of that specifically about making mistakes. Which is
Agreed.
interesting. Like, why aren't we talking about that? Like,
So, and this is another, not to like a thousand example this, but in my personal life, again, and I don't know why I'm just now thinking of this, but um, in order for me to be more comfortable with owning mistakes and talking about mistakes, um, you need to talk about them more often. Like to get more comfortable doing it, you need to do it more often.
yeah,
That's at least my philosophy about a lot of
totally.
things.
Yeah.
Well, we have a kid. She's 9. She just turned 9, and she's a stubborn one. She's Capricorn, so stubborn, and the girl has never done anything wrong in her life,
Yeah.
and she'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And you can't correct, and there's no whatever, whatever. Well, part of that is, yes, personality trait, yada, yada. A big part of that is also modeling the behavior in the house. I have a big belief of like, you can, correct, and you can punish, and you can take away rewards or whatever. But the best parenting hack ever is, if you want your kid to do it, you need to do it. If you want your kid to do it, you need to do it. You need to model the behavior often, consistently, out loud, in like kind of an obnoxious way,
Yeah,
because it's
sure.
got to be a little like over the
Yeah.
top, like
Jazz
song
hands?
and is get jazz hands
Yeah,
about
jazz
it.
hands. Yeah.
And so we have integrated at dinner, we don't make it a formal like, everyone go around and share their mistake, because that's super uncomfortable and she's not going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just no one wants to do that. And
Okay.
so it's just in pure conversation
Yeah,
of
sure.
my husband and I know that
Mhm.
this is our ploy, this is our game plan, right? But I'm like, we just need to start dropping into like regular, how was school, how was work, how was the day, blah blah blah. Oh man, today. And so we did it for the first time last week where I was late to a meeting. And I said, "Oh, I was late to a meeting today. Um, I had out my calendar and I was knee deep in this, that, and the other, and I missed the notification, whatever." It's a very small mistake, but it's just me starting to practice saying out
Yeah.
loud
I made a
something that
mistake today.
exactly that I
Yeah.
wish I had done differently. And so then my husband responds of like, "Oh man, that's happened to me too," or like, "That's such an easy mistake to make." Like talking about just the compassion and the understanding. And she still has yet to share a mistake. And I will ask him, I go, "Hey, did you mess up today?" And I'm talking to him. She's over here and she goes, "Nope." But it's hilarious. But I swear to God, I'm going to message you. It might take 9 months, but I'm going to
Love it.
message you when she voluntarily shares a mistake because it
Yeah.
will happen.
Yeah.
We just have to keep doing it.
100%. In fact, this feels to me like, first of all, kids are just such little mirrors.
Oh my God, they're so
You
funny.
know, I don't have, we have
Yes.
2 dogs. I don't have kids, but I love kids. Lots of my friends have kids. And like, they're just, man, if you're ever unsure, yeah, if you're ever like, oh man, that's really kind of annoying. You're like, wait a minute. I think that like his dad does that or like whatever. Right.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. I'm like,
yeah.
oh,
But you
that's
know,
what I sound like when I do. Okay.
yeah, exactly. And initially I thought you were going to say this was kind of like a Seinfeld, like Festivus thing. Like it was like a formal, like you all stand up and like move your chairs into the corners or like whatever. So I'm glad to hear
Put
that's
your
not
notes
the
in the corner.
case. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But this really reminds me, like to bring it back to business, this really reminds me about, it makes me feel like organic marketing in a sense. You know, I think that so many people I talk to about like just like organic Instagram newsletter posts, like even for a really small business, similar to, you know, it's going to take your kid 3 weeks, 4 weeks to like, okay, come
Uh-huh.
around, you know, it's like,
It's comfortable to bring it up. Yeah.
yeah, I find a lot of my clients, like, they expect, okay, I'm going to make 3, 4 Instagram posts over the next few weeks. And like, I'm going to have all these clients. It's like,
Uh-huh.
this is a long-term thing. Like
Yes.
it takes a while to, it's even though you're not a big business, it takes a while to turn this boat. The strategy here is to like have a little trickle kind of that
Yes.
builds over time. Right. So you're never really in a tight spot. But anyways, that's, I'm praying for you.
Thank you.
Cannot wait. I cannot
Yes.
wait until that happens. I think it's
Yep.
gonna happen. I think it'll happen soon.
I think it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be months. I don't think it's gonna be weeks. I do think it's
Yeah.
gonna be months.
Yeah. You know her better than
Um,
I do, for sure.
yeah, but I'm gonna message you when it happens.
Great.
So we can all celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay, I do want to talk about now that you are kind of going into um where I feel like your first few months of business were intentional spaghetti at the wall. And I know that you're like that's still I think the season that you're in to
For
some
sure.
capacity. Maybe there's
Mm,
some clarity. What does 2026 look like for you? What are you being intentional about? What are
mhm,
you saying no to this year that
mhm,
maybe you said yes to last year? What phase do you think that you're in of like the next thing that I'm learning so that
mhm.
I can move forward is what? Where are you at?
Yeah, so I think I've identified a few key areas that I really wanna learn more about, and the one for sure that I want to invest a lot more time and energy into is meta ads.
Okay.
Just because I think that I've seen them firsthand be like, I've been involved in them, the campaigns, like, a little bit in the past. I've
Yeah.
never run them myself, but I can do. I'm certainly not a designer, but I have enough design skill to, like, build websites and, you know, build a logo and create a meta ad, and, I can also do some decent video work, right? So, I just see so much value in meta ads for the type of client that I'm currently working with.
And who is
Um,
that?
yeah, so I think that the type of client I'm probably going to continue to target 2026 is going to be like solo practitioners. I'm talking about healthcare providers, but most specifically, mental health care providers.
Yes.
By virtue of the fact that my wife's a psychologist, I'm a
Right?
co-owner in a clinic.
Yep.
My mom was a pediatrician. And so again, a lot of women, a lot of feminine energy,
Yes.
which I think I work well with and seem to attract into the business.
Hmm.
And honestly, it's an area that's really underserved in the
Agreed.
marketing world, because when you talk to, the first thing I say is like, you know, avoid agencies like the plague. I'm sure there's lots of agency owners listening to this podcast. I want to go on the record that I have had fantastic, phenomenal work done by agencies. However, for most solo practitioners, small to medium-sized businesses, If you're thinking about talking to an agency, just turn around and run the fuck the other way as fast
Mhm.
as possible.
Mhm.
Because I'll give you a great example. One of my first clients, actually in October, I talked to her and she's like, I want to redo my website. I was like, fantastic. Like I need more. Yeah. So she's like, I talked to this marketing agency and this is years ago. She's kind of having a rebrand and they charged her $12,000 US for a really simple website, which is like fine, your logo, all that stuff.
Sure.
And then like she shared like all of the like strategy documents she got. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, how many clients do you, she's like, I need more. How many clients do you need? She's like, oh, I need like 7. If you need 7 clients, like,
Uh-huh.
why don't, here's the thing. Why don't you go to your website and see if your phone number is on there?
Right. Right.
Or like, why don't you,
Where does the intake form go?
is there a book now
Right.
on the front page? Like, do people land on the site and like know your name? Like there's so many. So I think, I guess what I'm saying is these folks have, I don't know, I don't want to use the term taken advantage of, but I think they don't know what they need.
Yeah.
They're not technical people.
Right.
They operate in the healthcare world. And so what they really need is actually just a really, really nice kind of like online business card and a really simple forward sales funnel that they can understand. You can't say the word sales funnel, or you need
Nope.
to really, really clearly outline to them what the sales funnel is. And that's not a $12,000 thing. The documents she got, it was like, like 4 newsletters a month. It was like, and which is still kind of light, and it was also like 1 blog post, appear on these podcasts. Like today, it's like, dude, this person is,
Do they want to be an author one day? Like, do they
yeah,
want to teach other providers? Like, what
yeah,
business are we
exactly.
building?
Yeah, so I wasn't sure. So what I've noticed, it just doesn't seem like they're starting. I like to start from those clients' capacities. What do you need? Like, what's the goal that you want to achieve? How much capacity do you have to spend on marketing? And I do this like at my first call. Is it an hour a week? Is it 15 minutes a week?
Right.
Is it 4 hours a week?
Right.
What do you like doing? How do you like to show up? Because if you can identify how folks like to show up, what feels natural to them, and then like paint them a picture of how that could actually fit into their life, man, they're going to really, really be successful. So that's a long way of saying that I've kind of identified that as a really core client of mine. And if I'm thinking about an offer that I'm going to systemize this year and
Yeah.
productize,
Hey.
I think that's going to be it. And so I'm in the process of building out a landing page for it,
Nice.
and just actually running some meta ads on my own to target that, because these are people that they can pay. They can pay. They usually make good money, and most importantly, I think they really have an emphasis on their relationship with the people that they work with.
For sure.
I
For sure.
love having a great relationship with my clients. I'm
Yep.
not the kind of person that's like, and again, this is a new thing I'm learning, where I'm going to find out where my edge is in terms of like, hey, this is a great idea I suggested. And then like, fuck, shouldn't
Yeah.
admit I'm the one that came up with this type
Yeah.
of communication strategy,
Yeah.
So
Shoot.
that's certainly one client. And I think for those types of clients, I could offer, maybe like one core web branding offering would
Mhm.
really cover most of them. Maybe I do like a slightly lower, like 1-page tier. And I think I could also offer like even like a social media audit service where it's like, let's optimize your Facebook and Instagram bio, maybe LinkedIn as well.
Yep.
Let's make
I
sure
also
there's
see like Google Business being an asset for them. They're a local business.
yeah.
Well, I guess a lot of therapists are still doing virtual. And so
Yeah.
do you see a lot of local or virtual? Do you?
I'm actually working with a lot of most of my business is New York State. New York
Interesting.
City. And, like, this is the
Interesting.
power of, like, if you want a
Or
hot
yeah,
take, here's my hot take. Networking is probably the most valuable marketing asset you have, because I
100%.
I did one website in New York State, and I
Yep.
have 5
And then there it goes. Yep.
clients,
Yep.
and,
Are they serving clients in person locally, or are they a virtual therapist?
both. I think
Both.
everyone
Okay.
now is kinda doing virtual work. I think the trick is every state, and the same as in Canada, we have provinces, not states, but, each state or province basically has their own compliance perspective,
Right.
their own college you're registered with, kinda depending on the level of your accreditation. So I think the really good news for me is, here's another hot take. A lot of, like, service providers are thinking about, like, locally, especially when they're starting, we can serve everybody for the most
Yes.
part. Like,
Yes.
stop
Yes.
stop stop I talked to someone who's like a what were they? It was an online service, and they were like, "Oh, I have a bunch of advertising here in the Comox Valley," where, like, I was like, "What the fuck are you like,
Why?
why don't you just turn it on through North America and Europe?" And he's
Yep,
like, "Oh, yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, like, you can do all this work, man." And then they're paying US dollars or British pounds, right? So,
exactly. Yep.
anyways, I think that's where I see
Mhm.
I've taken on a few communications contracts that are more retainer clients, where it's almost more marketing communications. I like having that because it gives me a little bit of base income each month,
For sure.
and I'm spending, 10 to 20 hours a month on those clients. And, if I backfill that with some of the web work, it'll give me enough space to work on what my next iteration is, and I do think my next iteration involves I don't wanna use the C word, and I don't wanna use the M word. Um, but I think you talk about this a lot. We have to use the feedback from our clients as a roadmap in some
Yep.
sense,
Yep.
and we also have to find the intersection of what feels good. And people have always told me if they talk to me for an hour, even though I might not know anything about their business, um, they end up leaving the call feeling just more clear about what they wanna do, and I don't know the answer. I just am good at asking questions. I've developed good listening skills. I'm really not afraid to push back in a way that, I think kind of like emotional intelligence is one of my strongest skills, so
Mhm.
I'm not afraid to push back in the right way that you really have to gauge where people are at, to how you can kinda do that or if you can. And, so I feel like there's something I feel like that's where I can have the
Yeah.
most
How
impact.
I see that potentially rolling out for you
Mm,
is instead of the coaching aspect, like sitting more in that strategic advisor aspect. And so a potential kind of like pipeline that I can envision for you, just depending on budget and level 10 clients that you want to work with, is continue doing what you're doing now.
mm,
Continue what I kind of picture as like the like marketing ecosystem that you're designing for therapists. Maybe you eventually partner with like, and I can refer you. I have an incredible past client who you definitely need to know, regardless. But all she does is design websites for therapists. That's it. She designs the websites, writes the copy, and they're beautiful and they're
mm,
simple and they're good and they're great. But like, could you have a referral partner like that where you're like, great, send them my way once they want leads, once they're ready to run ads, once they're ready for a marketing game plan, like whatever
yeah,
that looks like, right?
yeah,
So maybe you do 4 custom website projects a year, but that's not your bread and butter, but you can do it, whatever you refer it out. But it's the ecosystem of you work with mid-sized therapists who only need 5 to 15 leads a month, and here's how we can get them. We don't need 300. We don't need thousands. You don't need a freebie. You don't need the traditional funnel. But then it's the ecosystem of like content, Google business, Facebook ads, but then where the strategic advisor comes in, and this is because this is the role I play. This is how I coach without being a coach or
yes,
feeling like I'm a coach.
yeah,
My retainer clients get this from me where I create some sort of dashboard of like, what are the things that we're doing? What are the metrics that they need to care about? It's like a CEO level dashboard. For yours, it would be like ad performance and new leads. And how are those leads converting? How's your marketing performing, this month or whatever?
mhm,
But then that 45-minute, 60-minute, 90-minute call that we have once a month or once a quarter, that's where I get to say, what are your goals this quarter? Let's plan them and map them out. How do
mhm,
you want your career to look? Are you wanting to hire someone? Do we need to prep for that? Do you want to scale back on your one-on-one hours and do something else? Like
mhm,
what does that look like? And let me partner with you on how the marketing asset can support that
sure,
in happening and coming to life.
yeah. And then are you in charge of, like, designing the marketing assets as well, or are you just like, "Here's what you need to do." Are you outsourcing that, or are you just basically saying, like, working backward from what the client is asking for? I guess I'm asking, like, what are the deliverables? Because, I mean, you're obviously like, what you just said is you're providing like a tremendous amount of value.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's priced. This is not through sold out services, right? This is through your
Correct. This is my consulting side. Correct.
okay.
Yep.
And so in terms of your deliverables, how much work? What's the question I'm asking? How much work are you doing outside of those calls?
Yep. Yep. So I have two lanes where typically those consulting clients come to me and they already have an existing team or contractors that they work with.
Mm,
They have like a team of 2 to 3 people, like an executive assistant, an operations assistant, and then they typically have someone kind of on deck for their web development, their graphics, their branding, whatever. What my clients typically like me to do if they're that camp is they want me to still manage that relationship. So pretty much in their onboarding, they're introducing me to their web designer, they're introducing me to their operations manager, their assistant, whatever. And I will have meetings with those people if I need, hey, you guys need to start making assets for Substack because we're going to start publishing twice a week. Here are the thumbnails that we need. Go make them.
Great.
That's one side. The other side is they don't have any of that. And I have a Rolodex of contractors that I basically just outsource to white label wise, where I own the client relationship, I manage it. But I'm like, hey, this client's coming on board. They just signed a 6 or 12 month container. We're going to be pushing out 2 Substack posts. We're going to be pushing out this and that and the other. Here are the graphics I need from you. Great. And they never talk to the client. They just do them and we deliver them. And for that client, they know I'm like, okay, I'll get this to my team and we'll put that together. So they know I'm working with someone. But yeah, it's either or.
And so my next question is, like, are you like how much are you charging for the service of outsourcing it? And you don't have to say, but like you are marking up those prices as a result of having to manage those relationships, right?
I charge a lot, no matter what. I
really like you. Man, that's what's up. What you just said, I fucking love that.
Right now, everyone pays the same, kind of no matter which bucket you fall into, because it all kind of evens out in the wash.
Great.
My minimum of working with me regardless is $8K. That's typically every single person on the consulting side starts in a project no matter what. You don't get pitched a retainer until I decide I want to work with you on a continued basis.
You choose your clients.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I don't have space for everyone. And so what I'm aiming for, my kind of restructure for 2026 is I'd like to do one big project per quarter, which is typically a $15,000 to $25,000 project. It's a big build out.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to retain you depending on the kind of bucket. So it's either kind of marketing performance, content performance, not marketing, but content performance, lead pipeline reactivation performance. So it's kind of one of those two. And it's a retainer that starts at $3,500 per month. And it's a 6-month min.
Great.
That's what it is.
You know, I think that there's 2 ways of looking at that. The first one is like, you know, some people would say like, oh, well, you should be like, you're managing these relationships, you're doing extra work to get the work done. But the way you're looking at it, which I actually fucking love, is like, this is a premium white glove service.
Yep.
I don't fuck around.
No.
It's not, I'm going to charge you an extra 10%. No, dude, this is what it costs to work.
That's what it is.
What do you need? What do you have? Great.
I'm going to make it happen.
The level of service is going to be exceptional no matter what. So you pay the money, you get the result.
Yeah, because honestly, at the end of the day, if I'm having a meeting with your designer or my designer, it's the same thing. So like I'm outsourcing it no matter what. You are either paying for it over here or I'm, you know, kind of roping it in over here. But again, evens out in the wash. Like I'm still managing that relationship. I'm still doing it or whatever. But I find a really good Rolodex of service providers who and here's what's funny is I'm expanding that Rolodex in 2026 because I want to now start to delegate the builds of my systems. I've built enough of the systems. I know the framework. I know I'm using Airtable, Zapier, Zeit. Like that's what I'm using. Go make it. I don't want to have to make it and connect it anymore. And part of my white glove is I will input up to 2 years of your past data into the system that I built. I don't want to do that anymore. It makes me want to scoop my eyeballs out. But it's so beneficial for the client. And so I'm going to outsource that. So I put out a thing on Threads like a week ago, maybe not even a week ago. And I was like, hey, I'm looking for a tech assistant. Here are the kind of things that I'm looking for. If you want to be in my Rolodex for me to bring you on project per project basis, fill it out. I think I have like 22 responses already. And so I was going to do one-on-one calls with all of them to just be like, what's your expertise? When can I bring you in? What? I'm not doing 22 calls. And so I'm doing one call where everyone's invited. And I'm just going to talk about, here are the type of clients I work with. Here are the things that I'm building out. You all are in my Rolodex now. So like, be prepared for me to ping you. If you want the project, great. If you don't, if you have to pass, that's totally fine. I'll go to the next person.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And the nice thing about the way you're doing that too is to exactly what you just said. Now you're also continuing to grow your network, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
continuing to like leverage. You're continuing to leverage the fact that you have to do this work, and you're just continuing to just get more people inside your inner circle. And who knows what type of work. We go back to that networking thing, right? Like you talked
Exactly.
about having 4 conversations that kind of like jump started your business in
Yes.
2025. Like, man, the more people you know, that's how it's always how business has been. And I feel like that's
Yes.
just a secret that, like, even though I knew that, now I'm really learning that. And I reached out to someone yesterday with, I love approaching those situations with no motivation. Like,
And that's how you have to do it.
dude, your work is, I talked to a coach yesterday. Don't know her at all. Don't know. Just commented on her. She actually there's a thing on her page that needed to be addressed. I was like, whatever. I was like, hey, let's just have a call.
Yeah.
We talked for like an hour. And it was
Yes.
like, I don't even know if I'll ever talk to her again, but
Yeah.
I might.
Yes. Yes.
And if maybe I have a client for her, or maybe we do something together in the future. And so often a mistake I see people make is like, okay, let's get in there and like, here's what we're gonna. It's like, dude, you're not James
Gross.
Bond. Like,
No.
you don't
No.
like people know, they can
Yep.
tell right away this stench
They
of
can
like
smell it.
desperation of like, just say what's
Yep.
up. Like, how's it
Literally.
going? You know?
I have a
So that's
virtual
so
coffee
cool.
date right after this, and it's going to be the same thing. It's like, I
Yeah.
don't even actually know how she got on my calendar. And so
Yeah.
we're just going to pop up and just be like, what's up, girl? I'm
How
like,
did you
what?
get on my calendar?
What do you got? How did you get on my calendar? But what's going on?
Yeah.
Let me remember where that link is so I can take it down. But
Yeah.
no, it's again kind of going back to something that we said at the very beginning of letting the chips fall where they lie, of
Mhm.
like in our relationships with have intention, but not an agenda. Like I think is kind of the nuance that
Yeah.
needs to be read between the lines here.
Sure.
And it's a skill for sure. And it's something, definitely when you need revenue, it's harder to just be like, I'm chill, I'm chill, I'm chill, I'm chill, I'm just like checking in. I don't need anything.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
And I promise you, like, I talk about this, on the show a lot, but caring about the prospect journey, the client experience before they become a client, and truly just getting to know people and care about people, like that period point blank, it is the biggest asset. And I used to think, I know we're running up on time, so this will be my last thought. I didn't join a sorority in college. It was a really big thing for
Mhm.
here, and a lot of people were like, "Why didn't you? This is how you make friends. This is what you need to do." Blah blah blah. And I didn't do it. And I've always been the person up until pretty recently that's kind of just been like, "You pay for your friends. That's dumb. Like I don't understand the concept of that." And like maybe sorority still wasn't right for me. However, I always thought I'm a first gen college student. I didn't even know what an internship was when I was in college. Like my parents, no one knows anything in my family. I was the first one to do a lot of things, and I had to like fuck it up and figure it all out and do all the things. And
Mhm.
I always thought that like networking and schmoozing and it's who was for people who had those skills. They were in a sorority. They did the internship. They got hired on at their uncle's firm to do whatever, right? That was for them. They had the connections, but you can build it too. And you can build it in a way that feels really good for you too. And now I'm leading it and organizing it, and people are joining my network, which is crazy and incredible and exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you just hit on something really, really important at the end. You have to start it.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so many people are waiting. And this is advice I also heard years and years ago. You have to be the person starting the party. And that's
Yes.
hard to do. But I guarantee anyone who's listening that this resonates with, if you start the party, people will come. And it's just going to end up benefiting you in the long run. Not operating with a motivation of making a sale. It's just, it
Exactly.
will help you putting
Yep.
yourself out there and getting out in the community.
Yeah. Chris, this was incredible. I feel
Yeah.
like we could keep yapping for another hour.
Yeah.
And just every idea was another idea and something I want to talk about and share about.
Yeah.
Thank you for, breaking the seal and being the first guy
I
on
hope I
the
did a good
show.
job. I hope I represented us.
You did great. You represented well. Definitely, would love to have you back on in months in the future to see and check in with you on like the ecosystem of your offers and where you're at, and
Great.
hopefully to update you on the emotional intelligence of my child that is hopefully progressing by that point.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing so much about your journey and insights and going deep with me. This has been helpful. Can you let my listeners know where they can hang out with you, see more of your services, and be a part of your network, all that good stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm brightideasolutions.ca. That's the website. And bright.idea.solutions on Instagram.
Awesome. Those
Yeah.
links are going to be in the show notes and the podcast description, so you should be able to easily find it there. Thank you again so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sell the Damn Service. I'm really honored that you spent however many minutes you just did with me. Now, if you could go do me a very quick favor and be sure to like, subscribe, leave a rating and a review for this podcast over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or, pick your favorite platform. I'm not going to be that choosy. It truly means the world to me. It's how little tiny shows that are like mine, that are self-funded and, being edited in between dinner time and school pickup, it helps us get seen. It's free for you to do and takes just a couple of minutes. And I would love you forever if I could send you an edible arrangement as a big thank you. I would. So instead, consider this giant thank you directed just at you for going to do that. And share this episode or this podcast with a friend who needs to hear it. I love ranting and raving about service-based business strategies. And, I think more people should listen to this show, honestly. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I really, really, really am grateful that you're here, and we will chat very soon.